Okay, well, good afternoon, good morning. This is Rod Santomassimo with the Massimo Group. And today we have a very special guest, Mr. Bo Beery, who's joining us. And I could just, I'm gonna Bo introduce himself, but let me share a little bit about Bo. I guess he's the prince of productivity. He's the dean of deep work. I worked on that one, the dean of deep work. And I would say he is absolutely the Earl of efficiency. Let's put it that way. So there's a guy who's going to tell you about where he came from, things he did differently in his practice, and where he is today. It's been a complete transformation. Yes, in total transparency, Bo Beery is a client, long-term client, and even now inactive client of the Massimo Group. And we're thrilled. He's always been a great friend and supporter, but he's volunteered his time to share with you today what he does to make sure he maximizes his individual productivity, to make the most of his time and certainly of his practice. So Bo, with that said, thank you so much for joining us today. If you don't mind, can you share a little bit of your backstory? First, introduce yourself and then share a little bit of your backstory and we'll go from there.
Yeah, sure. So I'm based in Gainesville, Florida. Our market's what I would call a tertiary market. There's maybe 200,000 people here, and we're surrounded by, more tertiary markets. So the biggest city would probably be, Jacksonville, Orlando, but those are all a couple hours away from me. I'm with Coldwell Banker Commercial. I'm one of the owners. I'm now a minority owner of Coldwell Banker Commercial. I have a couple partners. All I do is produce. My partners run the whole company. All I do is sell apartments for the most part. I've been in Gainesville since the late 90s. I did a marketing degree at UF. I went and worked for Trammell Crow Residential in the multifamily industry for a few years, just did leasing and management, on-site stuff. Went back and did my master's degree at UF in real estate. Graduated, that was early 2000s, and went and worked for a developer in Gainesville for 8 or 9 years. And I brokered and managed the commercial portfolio. So office, retail, industrial, apartments, all the works. Did a lot of acquisitions, leasing, and management. 2010, 2011 is when I had acquired the Coldwell Banker Commercial brand with a partner who had had it in the family for decades and decades, and had a very successful brokerage for years and years. Have been either the top number 1 or number 2 producing agent in my market for as many years as I've been in the business. And around 2011, 2012. I was doing a little over 100 transactions a year on average, anywhere from a $500 commission, for a little, 200-300 square foot office that I leased to larger transactions where you made 20 or 30 grand or 40 grand, the occasional 50 or 60 grand. I was working easily 80 or 90 hours a week and more in certain weeks. 7 days a week, all the time, evenings, weekends. Some of you have heard the story, but I remember falling asleep at red lights all the time, just pulling my hair out, always frustrated, just, wasn't the father I wanted to be. I don't know that my kids would say that, but I wasn't there as much as I wanted to. It was just, it takes over your life. And when you're in commercial brokerage, and many of the folks on this series will probably say the same thing, you can be really, really busy and think you're really, really successful, right? And so for a lot of you on this line, you're doing 50, 60, maybe some of you are doing 150 deals a year. You're making hundreds of thousands a year. Maybe you're making 7 figures, but you're in chaos. And it's a constant battle to try to catch up. I was up till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning every single day. I mean, it was just berserk. And so I kept getting these damn advertisements on Massimo. And I'd see them in the emails, and I'd see it, in social media, and I'd see all this stuff. And I knew you guys were the best. It just wasn't a consideration. But I saw one email that came across my desk in the mid 2000s, and it said that the average commercial broker made like $150,000 or $200,000 a year. And it said the average Massimo customer at that time, when you remove all the people who were making like $3 million a year or more or whatever, the average guy was making $700,000 a year. And I thought to myself, I don't mind making what I'm making now for the rest of my life, because I was making great money. I really was. It was just taking way too much time. I just want my life back. And that's when I made the phone call. I just wanted my life back. And I knew that meant I probably had to broaden my markets, and I had to, up my transaction size per deal in order to make this work. And my goal was to be under 50 hours a week. And so today I've doubled, tripled, quadrupled. I don't even know what it is anymore. My income, I don't work any more than 45 hours a week. I only work Monday through Friday. I am done at 6 p.m. every single day, Monday through Friday. Sundays, I spend an hour to plan my week. And it's just been, I've never had more time with my family and my kids, made more money my entire life. And it was really just taking some simple concepts and being efficient with your time. And so I'm happy to share some of these. And then I'd also like to learn some stuff from the guys that are on here. Maybe when they're popping in their Q&A section, I'd love to hear what they've done to save time.
Well, I appreciate, great introduction, Bo. Thank you. And yeah, as we watch this transformation, again, look, at the Massimo Group, we really have three avatars. There's Ned Newbie, someone just starting out. There's Peter Plateau or Paula Plateau. They're stuck. They've been doing it, but they're stuck. And there's guys like Bo, we call Bob Topper. They're making the money. They absolutely are. They don't have the life. And that's the life they really probably think about it, they want to get. They think, I can't stop working. I love working. I get all that. We can all learn that there's other things you can do to enjoy and create more margin. And that's the key word, create the margin. And so Bo's created margin in his life. So Bo, let's talk about margin. Probably the one thing, there's many things you've done, but I know one thing you've committed to in your life, and you're going to roll your eyes and go, well, that's kind of obvious, Rod. But again, if you don't know, the one thing I say more than anything else is do not kid, K-I-D yourself, folks. K-I-D stands for this. Knowing isn't doing. It just isn't. Knowing isn't doing. If you kid yourself and say, hey, Bo, I know that, Rod, I heard that. It doesn't matter what you know. It matters what you do. So, Bo, let's talk about one lever of your productivity, and that would be so many of them. Let's start off with your CRM. So where were you now? We're not endorsing any particular CRM. Bo has his favorite. He's going to show you what that is. But how does your CRM assist you and or your team in becoming more productive?
I tell you, man, it's easily one of the top 5, things in my life, if not top 2 or 3. But my CRM, so I use RealNex. Okay. There's a bunch of them out there. I'm sure they're all phenomenal, but any CRM is truly only as good as you make it. Right. So, my CRM is like, I literally put it in a seatbelt in my car when I'm going somewhere. Like I actually have it in a package. My laptop is in a package. I seatbelt it. I make sure nothing touches that. So it even touches my CRM, even though it's online, even though I've got it backed up all over the place. Like my CRM runs my business life and it runs my personal life. Like it's got everything that I'm supposed to do all the time. But your CRM, no matter what it is that you choose, here's the things you're looking for. You got to be able to schedule events on it, which is obvious, right? So, every time, if some guy who owns an apartment complex tells me his loan's coming up in 2022, I'm scheduling to call him 12 to 18 months ahead of time. So I'm putting in that right now. I schedule my birthdays and I schedule anniversaries for my customers, and I'm scheduling when they said they're going to when they said they're going to sell, and I just so it's just you got to be able to have the ability to schedule stuff. Also, and even more importantly, you got to be able to track histories. So something where, when I've got Rod up on the screen and he and I are having a conversation, I've got my little earpiece on and I'm typing in my notes what was said and what we talked about and so forth, so that whenever I talk to you 6 months from now, I can see all the conversations that we've had maybe things I've mailed to you, maybe things I've done with you. It's all right there. And we think we can remember that stuff, but if you're remotely good at your business, there's no way you can remember all that stuff, right? So I can go back, I can go back all the way to 2002, I got RealNex. You can imagine I'm building and building. The other thing that makes any CRM the most powerful is you have to be absolutely relentless in inputting information to it, right? So every human being I talk to on my phone, every email I get, every meeting I'm at, any social event I go to, you know, we all get these the emails, the calls, the business cards and so forth, and we'll put it on our desk, or, you know, maybe we'll enter partial information. I enter everything about everybody. And then I have my assistant, depending on who the person is, Google them, and she'll input articles about them in the notes section of that person's card in RealNex, and when their birthdays are, who their wives are, how many kids they have. I mean, I know more stuff about every one of my customers. It would just freak them the hell out, right? But I'm always adding information constantly, because it's all about data. And so what I'm saying is the average guy, let's say the average commercial broker who makes $200,000 a year or $300,000 a year and thinks he's doing well and thinks he's great, gets the phone call, I'm just calling about his retail center, and he's busy and he's driving and he doesn't want to, take the time to write something down. I wait till the next red light or whatever it is. I'm writing into a little book what his information was, everything I possibly can. When I get back, I don't forget about that name. That's the difference. When I get back, I'm entering in everything about that human being. I'm fully filling it out, and I'm scheduling an event. I don't care what it is, the phone call, to a lunch, or whatever it is. I'm going to follow up with them about whatever you called about. So I'm just relentless about every contact I have, and it makes my database extremely important. And here's the thing. When I call someone back, and I'm able to recount the history we had about them, and I'm able to look at the notes that my assistant gave me about that person, and be able to sort of drop things about them or things I researched them, they love that stuff, right? Because I looked them up, and I cared about them, and I able to say things about them, what I found out about them, that there's a whole different connection. It's not just about the business part. Let me check some of my notes here. I know I put some of these things down. Mail merge. So, mail merge is super important. Sometimes I'll do, we'll call it mass emails, but it's directed individually to a human being. So they'll say, hey, Rod, I was thinking about you with this market report. I can also do mailings from it. It's something that tracks all the properties, who owns them. And then lastly, I'll just touch on this because I want to save some of this for the live event, because I'm just going to give you some high level stuff, but at the live event, that's where it gets really serious. But you want to have a CRM that has a searchable database. So when I get a listing, all these years I've been in business, the 20-something years I've been in business, I actually create little searchable fields for everybody. So for instance, everyone who's looking to buy apartments, I create a little searchable database that says, hey, this guy wants over 100 units. He wants value add. He wants North Florida. He doesn't like students. He likes to put in no more than $10,000 a unit. So that when I get a listing, almost every time I double-side a transaction, because I'm not email blasting it to a gazillion people, at least for the sellers who don't want me to, I'm able to query down, boom, 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 and take thousands of people and narrow it down to the 20 people who want this exact kind of asset. When it's
Okay.
industrial office.
Let me stop you there, because a couple of things. You said you want some ideas of how to be more effective, and something you said I don't think I heard correctly. First of all, everyone listening right now, don't forget, ask Bo anything, question and answer box. Ask me anything, question and answer box. We'll get to as many questions as we can before we take off. Bo, if I heard you correctly, please correct me. If I did, then correct yourself. Now, you're taking these notes and you're bringing them back to your office. Are you the one that's actually putting in the notes? Is your team doing that?
It depends on if I need to call them back very, very quickly, I'll just put in like name and phone number. And then what I do is I email my assistant and said, hey, fill out the profile for this guy. And then she's connected to my CRM as well. And so then she fills in address, phone number, emails, and then starts putting in all the links to their social media accounts and articles about them, things they last bought, whatever it is. I want to know everything about them.
Okay, so here's a really vital component that Bo alluded to, but didn't state himself. We don't use RealNext. We use a completely different software at the Massimo Group, and we have team members. I think it's almost 40 team members now throughout North America. We got 10 team members in Canada the last time we counted. But we're all connected by a certain database that we all can look at what's going on with any client, anytime, task, and so forth, and give tasks. So yeah, I almost never touch my database to schedule things. My team does, my assistants, plural, do. That's what we have to do to make as efficient as me as possible to create the margin that we want. Okay, Bo, we can go really deep all day with CRM, but I got a lot that we got to talk about. Let's talk about the next thing, because you alluded to it, and I did just there. Team. It's just not you sitting in your office doing everything and being the jack of all trades. Tell us about your team and how they make you more productive.
Sure. So I have an assistant who's my heart and soul, and I could do a whole thing on her because she's just phenomenal. And then I have sort of two partners that help me. One of them is more of a partner. The other one's more of a junior. So prior to picking multifamily as a specialty many, many years ago, in a small tertiary market, you do everything, right? So we're kind of a generalist before I got coaching. So we did office and retail and industrial and all that. And I built a good name and did a lot of business. And so when I picked a specialty, I didn't want to just throw away all the business. So the other two partners that I have on my team, they handle a lot of the general commercial real estate stuff because my name is still on a bunch of the signs and it's all over the web and so forth. And so they handle that whole business. Their job is to handle all of the general commercial real estate business that I've built for many years so that all I do is multifamily. My assistant, who, we went through a couple to get to her, and with coaching, with Massimo, helped me understand how to ask the right questions and find the right person. She does everything else. I mean, she's always reachable by phone and email. And I mean, if you can pull up her inbox, how many emails she gets from me, that's how we mostly communicate. I just pop an email. Hey, can you do this? Hey, can you do that? I need this. But she does market reports. She looks up contact information for me. She does sales reports for me on stuff that is sold. She's researched who bought them and sold them. It just goes on and on and on, so that all I have to do are the most important things in the world, which is serving my rank A customers and introducing myself to new customers that enter the market, right? That's my specialty. No one can do what I do on the phone and in person. She does everything else, and my team does everything else.
Okay, and we're going to get to another team member you haven't talked about yet. I'm going to just reinforce some things. Some of you heard me say this again. I always repeat things because I believe there's certain pillars you got to really understand. So I'm a voracious reader. One of the books I read called Hyper Sales Growth by Jack Daly. I get one sentence from every book, and the one sentence in that book is 9 words. If you don't have an admin, you are one. If you don't have an admin, you are one. When I read that, it changed everything for me. I realized, cheese and crackers, I'm doing administrative work, and I'm trying to make X dollars an hour doing Y dollars an hour work. So today I have 1, 2, 3 admins in different ways in my life to make things more productive. So for example, I have an admin that does all my personal stuff that I really don't want to do. Check out the kid's DMV appointment, get that done. What about the orthodontist or the drum lessons, or, I need someone to help change the pool pump or whatever it might be, right? Stupid stuff that takes time you should not be doing. Now, you go to the extreme though, Bo. There's something you do when you're visiting clients or getting on the road that's just different. So explain that.
Yeah, so in Gainesville, obviously Gainesville is not a big enough market to do the transactions and number of volume I want. And so through Massimo, we audited my entire business and many, many years ago and discovered how many, we went market by market to pick up the number of markets that equals the number of transactions I need to do in order to make the amount of money I want. And so basically, we chose several markets across Central and North Florida that surrounded Gainesville so that I could drive there in 2 hours, do my business, drive 2 hours back, and still be home for dinner, right? However, when you're driving, for me or for anyone to drive somewhere 2 hours, do your business, and drive 2 hours back, I'm losing 4 hours of my day, and really like 4.5 when you put in a pee break or something like that, my life. And losing 4 hours in any busy person's life takes like 5 or 6 days to make that up. I guarantee you, like, if I just lost the rest of my day today, it would take me until next week just to catch up that kind of productivity. Because you think about all the emails that are coming in, the calls that are constantly coming in because you're driving, all that stuff. So many years ago, I decided, and I'm not going to be driving for myself anymore, so I hire drivers to take me anytime I'm going any more than like 45 minutes somewhere. I hire a driver. So I did a Facebook post. I reached out to some friends and basically said, hey, I'm looking for someone who can be available, sort of at my beck and call within a 2 to 3 day notice, consistently, that can, they'll basically come to my house. They will drive my vehicle while I'm in the passenger side. I've got a little lap desk set up, and I pay them $15 an hour. And they'll show up first thing in the morning. We'll drive to whatever the market is. We do the meetings. I usually set up at least 6 or 8 other meetings when I'm in a different market, and they drive the entire time. They drive me back. I get all my calls done. I get all my emails done. When we get back, I haven't lost any time. I pick up right with my family where I left off. And, for basically $150, $170 a day, whenever I'm going out of town, I've made many times more than that in income when you average out your income over the year, right? So that's been a huge thing. So I think when I did that response, I got like 14 people who are ready to drive for me, and I usually use the same 2 or 3 people at any one time.
Okay. And
many times, just so you know, sometimes I'll take interns or people in the real estate program or people who are thinking about getting to the real estate business. They'll oftentimes just drive for free because they want to just kind of be able to ask me questions along the way here and there without bothering me and taking away from the business. I've done that as well. Being in a college town, you can pick up, some of these real estate guys, and they would love to do that. I do have them sign a waiver ahead of time that, that basically indemnifies me, and that, it kind of spells out all the stuff. It's a very simple, 2-sided thing, just so that no one, gets in trouble if there is an accident. But it's worked wonderful. I've been doing it for years, and it's made me a ton of money just by freeing up my time that way.
Okay. First of all, freaking awesome that you get the intern. I'm gonna give you another idea bonus second that you're gonna say, crap, I should have thought of that. So, but here's the thing, folks. Question and answer box, got some questions coming in. We'll address those. We'll get to those questions. So question and answer box, type in there for Bo or myself. Think about what Bo just said. He's had people drive in places. For example, I never fly unless I can fly first class. It's not because I want a comfy seat. Well, actually, it is because I want a comfy seat, because I have to work the entire time. I must. I don't care if it's a 2-hour flight or 5-hour flight to the West Coast. If I'm not working, I'm losing money. It's just that simple. So I will pay the extra money because I can make that up easily, whatever I'm paying to make that happen. So there's other ways to do this. Now, Bo, here's my maybe plus what you just told me you did. And this is not an original Massimo idea. This is what I see people doing, what I'm starting to do, and I think you need to start doing. And again, I'm sorry, folks, don't use the chat box, please. Use the question and answer box. We'll get to those. Have a question, use the question and answer box. Bo, do this. Next time you go for a drive and you have an intern, give the intern your iPhone or whatever you use and film you answering questions, okay? Or film you visiting with a prospect, and you could delete the confidentiality. Film you touring a property. Film you doing things. So now, from a production standpoint, you are going out to a meeting, you're going for a drive, and you're creating content the entire time. And content your team could take and say, okay, we could break it down to vlogs, blogs, questions, tweets, LinkedIn posts. So to create the presence, what it's like to work with Mr. Beery himself, right? So use,
That's a great idea.
It costs you nothing. It costs you nothing. Have them film you. It's just the content machine that's working today. So go ahead and do that. Okay, we still have some questions coming in. Let me see where we are on this one. Okay. Why multifamily? Ask a couple of questions. So why multifamily? We still got more productivity tips. Don't go anywhere. Why multifamily? There are some big companies entrenched in this market. How did you get your feet wet inside, and now that you're killing it today? So why multifamily, Bo? Why that one niche?
I mean, it's really just per the person. It's not one that I picked. You know, it's one that matches me and my market, right? So when I got with the Massimo Group, my coach helped me discover, based on my background, my education, my market, my surrounding markets, you know, what would be the best niche, and also what did I like the most, right? So early on in my career in the late 90s, I worked for Trammell Crow Residential. I got to know the multifamily industry. I really, really liked it. I loved watching 400 checks come in, paying for at that time was a $32 million asset, and I never saw the owners. And I thought to myself, this is an incredible business. That same asset just sold for $56 million 2 years ago. So for me, I loved multifamily. It was also a way to be able to take 40 office transactions or 30 industrial lease transactions and just do one transaction. And remember, I'm trying to scrunch down the amount of money I make in a certain amount of time. So whatever it is, that's what you're trying to do, is up your transaction size. If your market is a big industrial market, become the king of industrial or leasing, sales, whatever it is. For me, multifamily provided a good enough market where I was in my surrounding towns. I'm in a college town. Tallahassee's a college town. Jacksonville and Orlando are good markets for multifamily. It just worked out for me.
Okay, I want to touch on two definite more things and get some questions. We're not going to dive too deep in this right now, Bo, but I want to talk about a little bit. One thing that you changed during our time together was your web presence. And I'm going to tell everyone right now, if you go to Bo Beery, BeauBeery.com, we're not going to tell you the secret sauce, but you're going to see on that website there's something different about it and why he gets more attention. So Bo, don't talk about what's different about it, but what could be one thing you took away to make you more productive, get more leads, because you could get leads while you sleep now. What is one takeaway from your transition of your personal branding and website?
I mean, I'm big on branding. So my undergrad was a marketing degree, and I just, to me, branding and marketing is something where it's working when you're asleep, if you do it correctly, right? So I try to, when I'm marketing and branding myself, it's not me, you know, testimonials and look what I sold and all that. I do that in a manner in which is not chest beating, because you need to let other people know how good you are. But it's more about trying to make the customer the hero, and trying to speak in a way that the customer hears you, right? So when you go to my website and you look at the way I brand and you see my mailings and the way I do emails, it's all catered toward trying to answer a question or a need that I know my customers after, rather than, hey, look at all my testimonials. Hey, look at my sale volume. Hey, I was #1 in multifamily sales in the world last year. Hey me, hey me, hey me. Like that's more edification and trying to justify your position in the world among your competition. Really, they just want to know, they want to know, hey, how am I going to be able to buy my next asset? And, you know, what are other people doing to increase the value of their asset? Like, that's kind of what it comes down to in my world, right? I I want to buy something. And by the way, how do I increase the value of my assets? Everything else is just BS. And if you can market yourself in a way, whether it's through websites, emails, mailings, meetings, whatever it is, if you can walk, talk, and do all those in a manner in which you're answering their need, and we all know what your need is. If you're a retail leasing person, you know what your customer who owns that shopping center wants. So stop telling him all about you and how good you are so he hires you. Try to talk to him in that manner, and it'll change your whole life, man. Change your whole life.
Okay, perfect. Love it. And we're gonna share more of that, but we're gonna share more of that during our live session. We will. But for right now, let's talk. Let's get deep, man. Let's get deep. We're gonna get deep. You're the dean of deep work,
Dude.
So let's talk about deep work. How you learned about it. It wasn't through us. How you learned about it, how you apply it, and the impact it has.
Yeah. So there's a book out there, and you can send it to them later in a follow-up, called Deep Work, right? And so actually a friend of mine who's big in the multifamily business turned me on to a book called Essentialism. I read that. Somehow it led to this book called Deep Work. And deep work, long story short, is you are carving out, there's a bunch of stuff in there that's good, but the stuff I took out is you're carving out a 2 to 4 hour period, preferably in the morning, in a room in which nobody can get to you. This is my room, where you're doing the 1 or 2 most important things in the world in your business, and you're shutting out the whole world, right? So you're getting deep within your work. So my period is from 9:30 to 11:30 in the morning, every morning, Monday through Friday. I come in this room right here, which is in my house. My wife and kids know that if you breach that door, there should be someone who is trying to kill you. Otherwise, you do not come in this room during that period, because I'm so deep in what I'm trying to do. So there's no social media. I turn off my email dings. You know, so how your email goes ding, ding, all that crap. I turn off the ringer. But also, just as a practice, I always save everybody who's anybody in my phone by their name, so that if I get a phone call and it's not a name on it, I know I'm not going to answer that, because that's someone calling off of a sign or something. If I see a name, I can then say, no, I'm not going to. I only answer the phone if it's some huge deal that I'm working on, and I know closing is in a few days, and if I don't answer this, hell's going to break loose. Otherwise, I don't answer the phone. I turn off all noises, all buzzes. Oftentimes, I'll even close the drapes. I'm in a freaking hole. Like, you don't touch me. My assistant knows not to call me from the office. My partners know not to bother me. Like, it is a sacred, sacred time. And my whole job is to do 2 things, right? Put one finger. 2 things. To my rank A people, okay, so these are and we'll talk about rank A if you want, or we can talk about it at the event. My rank A people are my most important people. These are my existing customers that I do the majority of my business with. It's like the 80-20 rule, right? That's who I work with. And then that's about 90% of my calls and my time. The other 10% or so is just I'm introducing myself to new people in my market. So some guy who's a company in New York who just bought an apartment complex in Daytona Beach, and it's the only thing they own in all 6 of my markets. And so I call myself and introduce myself, tell them what I do, chat with them. And by the way, before I even do that, my assistant has already filled out the entire profile. So I've got articles about them, social media, wives, kids, the whole thing, all about it. That's my whole job from 9:30 to 11:30. There's nothing more important than that. Everything else is garbage. All of the things that we do to advertise ourselves that may make a marginal 10 or 15% difference. I'm talking about social media and emails and mailings. All these things, we should all keep doing that, but nothing even touches my 9:30 to 11:30 period, which is my phone calls, and I'm scheduling lunches. So I do no less than 3 lunches per week. We can talk about that later, but that's how I build my business.
Perfect. Perfect. So I have 135 right now, both giving you several specific things that you should be thinking about to be more productive in your business. We got a lot of questions about prospecting. we're not going to address prospecting today. We'll do that at a later time. We got more, the next couple of webinars we're going to do monthly is focused on prospecting. This is about productivity. So I heard some deep work. I heard some focus on certain points during that deep work and interruptions. I heard about the leveraging the team. I love that idea of driver and intern. You know, you don't need a driver, by the way, to get an intern. I mean, we have clients, and one we'll have actually in October, Matthew LeBode. He has an intern. You may have seen him on social media calling Ask the Intern series, which I think is great. But how can you use a freebie intern? I love the identification that you have them sign, by the way. Great idea. I share with you some more productivity tips of, you know, that filming the whole thing. I also, Bo, share with you his CRM, how he uses it, the keys he uses to get that done. Talked about his team in general, his admins, a lot going on. So here's what I want you to do. I would like you in the question and answer box, give me the most important thing you've heard so far. Just give me the most, everyone just write down, hey, I'm gonna do this. Not I'm gonna try this. There's no try in a coaching relationship, folks. You're gonna do it. So I'm gonna implement this thing. So I want you to commit right now in the question and answer box, and you all should be doing this. This isn't about kidding yourselves, right? Knowing isn't doing. What can you commit to now that you heard Bo say what he says? Time blocking 2 hours a day and protect it. I love that. Thank you, Chad. Yeah. I'm going to begin recording everything and create YouTube. Yeah, especially, look, that's my friend in Romania. So if that's the case, I can't wait to see it. My guys, yeah, it's really Romania. Be relentless about inputting all into CRM. Wade, that is, by the way, Wade, time out. You can be relentless about getting everything in your CRM, but you're not putting everything in your CRM. That's a huge mistake, huge mistake. Someone else is doing that for you. Someone else is doing that for you. Wade, you're making $200, $300, $400, $500 an hour or more easily. You can pay someone $15 an hour, $12 an hour, $20 an hour, or internationally $5 an hour. You can to do that for you. Deep work is really getting down, bunkered down. Obviously, is not easy. I like that, Bruce. People are getting this deep work thing. By the way, I know you're saying deep work, folks. Here's another thing. If you're going to commit to that, read the damn book first and figure out the right way to do it. Just don't say, I'm going to do this. Figure out the methodology of deep work. I love it. A lot of CRMs, a lot of assistants. I love this. Just jumping on the webinar. This will be email. Yeah, I'm going to email this to everyone. If you register for this, you're getting this email. Plus, you're getting something special. We're going to tell you, hey, you know what? Well, let's talk about something special that we're all going to get. So here's something we're going to do. Look, we've alluded to this thing called, and don't worry, I'm going to get to your questions. We talked about this thing called the live event. And yeah, in November in Orlando, Bo's going to join us for our biggest live event yet, albeit very exclusive. We're only allowing 100 people to join us this time, only 100 folks. But this is a big live event. Bo's going to come with us, join us. He's actually going to share during that live event what he does each and every day to maximize his productivity. He's not going to give that away today, but at that event, Bo's going to tell you exactly what his day, how he structures it, what he does from a prospecting perspective, presence perspective, everything in between, how he structures his day. In addition to Bo, Bob Knackel, one of the top producers in the world, is going to have what we call our fireside chats. We generally do this, and sometimes there's alcohol involved. We'll share that with you. And Bob shares how he prospects and maintains his top position in the world's busiest market, that being New York. Matthew LeBode, who I referred to, killer kid, kicking butt in New Orleans, it's at Baton Rouge now. He didn't tell you what he does and how he leverages social media in regards to getting out to the marketplace. And with all these talks, we're implementing a lot of exercises to help you build the same things. And we're working right now with a really special guest. I can't say who it is yet, but she can help you with your mindset. We're working on it. Can't commit to this yet, to help you get the right mindset for 2020. Now, in addition to all that, what you should think about is during their time together, 2 days, we're going to give you from A to Z our playbook to how to build your own business and get ready for 2020. So write this down right now. CRE Ready 2020. That's CRE Ready, numbers 2020. That's where you'll find out more information about this live event. And besides myself and Bo being there, we're going to have many of our certified Massimo coaches, these guys that help Bo and others right, get 7X, multiply their income beyond their peers, 7X, they're going to be there. I got a lot of notes. Oh, here's a kicker. If you decide you want to go, we're going to reduce the registration fee by $500 today only. $500 today only. And what you do is you put in the registration box, right, the promo code IAM ready, IAM ready in all caps. You get $500 off that. By the way, why should you join us? I got all these notes. Because, oh, by the way, if you sign up today, we'll pay for your hotel rooms. We'll pay for both nights of your hotel rooms if you sign up today. Yeah, we're going to pay for your breakfast, for your lunch, both days. We get help with our certified coaches. They're going to be hands-on helping you build your playbook for 2020. And yeah, the connections you get, Bo, you can speak about this a little bit. It's not just Massimo and me. I'm going to be there as obviously, and our coaches, but the 100 people that go, think about how dedicated they are to their practice. Now, one quick caveat. If you're new to the business in the first 3 to 5 years, this is really not for you. It's just not. You're not ready for this yet. But if you're 3, 5, 10 years in the business, this event is for you. One more thing before I let Bo respond. CREready2020.com. But if you have 3 or more people that want to come and join us, email me directly. That's rsanto, R-S-A-N-T-O, at massimo-group.com. Even more deep discounted special pricing if 4 more of your folks want to come and join us. And we have special limitation to teams that can join us. But Bo, before we get to the questions, and please ask your questions in the chat box, question and answer box. I want to get to all of them. You've been there. You've been there as an attendee. You've been there as a guest. Now you're coming back as both, I guess. So tell me about the attendee experience first and foremost. Why should people come to our live event?
Man, it's, let's just set the teaching aside, like the whole Massimo part of the incredible detailed process on how to build your business, which is phenomenal. It's like getting another master's degree in a few days. I love being around, hit on the head, the kind of people that come to this and pay for it and take time out of their business. It's a huge commitment, right? These are not folks who are, selling a couple $1 million a year in real estate. These are really, really head honchos in each of their specialties. I love, the in-between meetings. I love the dinner events, the evening stuff, the getting to have like really good conversations with people even within my niche and learning what they're doing in their markets to prosper. And just kind of like, it becomes like a fraternity sorority thing. I mean, it's a really cool thing where everyone just kind of reveals the secrets and the trades that they're doing to make them successful. And these, there's people there who easily make more money than me and do more volume than me and are kind of giving me the tips and the trades. Plus, Knackle is just, the dude in himself is an institution. I mean, he would probably kill himself if he woke up and had my income. That's how good he would. That's how good he is. And he's super entertaining, has phenomenal stories, and the advice he gives, it's one of those things where you're just like, I can remember I'm sitting there talking in front of him. I'm literally like with my phone, typing in notes from how to write a letter to things that he says to how he gains the business. It's super, super cool. It's a neat brotherhood. That's the most special part for me is the side conversations that you have with the most elite in the business all there at one time. And your teaching is fantastic.
Well, thank you for that. But I appreciate that. And again, folks, that's CREready2020.com. Sign up today. Use the IAM ready, all caps, get $500 off and 2 free nights hotels and the lunch and breakfast and everything else. Sign up today. And I believe if you sign up in 2 days, you get a lower discounted rate. If you have, and again, someone asked, rsanto, that's my email, rsanto@massimo-group.com. Now, Bo, do you think that's really my direct email, by the way?
Probably not. It should.
Probably,
It should
probably
not
not.
be.
Okay, because we don't need. We share these things, folks. So we don't need to get direct emails bombarded with emails. My team will get those. They'll process them. They'll go from there. It's just one of those productivity tips. I don't need to be bombarded with emails. When I see something important, my team gives it to me. When not, it doesn't. So that's how it works. So let's get some questions because we got some folks who asked some questions in the chat box. Limit number of rooms. Yes, there are limited rooms on the event. So if you're going to sign up and you want the rooms, I think there's only 30 of those. So you got to sign up now. Bring your team, rsanto@massimo-group.com. I saw that question. What's the days of the event? It's Thursday and Friday, November 14th and 15th. Now you're asking, why the hell did you make it on Thursday and Friday in November in Orlando? There's a trick to that. Why? Because you get to bring your wife and kids or husband and kids or partner and kids. It's the slowest time, Bo. You can agree with this one, right? It is the slowest time in Orlando of the entire year. So think about having a great time Saturday and Sunday, and you're too busy Thursday and Friday the entire days. But Saturday and Sunday, bring the family, have a great time, slow time in Orlando, and plus it's just warmer. That's why we're doing it. Is the event different than the prospecting playbook? Slightly different. There's a lot of prospecting playbook in that event that we'll reinforce again. But yeah, a lot more presence, a lot more productivity elements. We're giving away or sharing, right? We're sharing a lot more in this event than we ever have, because I just feel we need to get everyone ready for 2020. I personally think, Bo, I want your opinion. I personally think we're going to start to see a shift in 2020. I think it's the latter half of 2020. I'm seeing signs already that there's potential, and beyond the China trade embargo and everything else, that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm seeing shifts in the market that we got to get ready. So, Bo, what are you seeing? What are you expecting?
Yeah, I mean, as a commercial real estate professional, we get asked this all the time, probably daily, most of us, right? And so my answer is it's so every metric, any metric that you follow, the employment, the economy, all this stuff, everything's pointing to everything still being good, right? The data in my industry is we're already down in the number of transactions that are happening. But I think what's really going to happen is, instead of the appreciation rate being like this, it was just this tremendous trajectory. I think it's going to kind of come back more to normal. I don't see it going in reverse, particularly in my industry. There's just too many things that are that are going towards a rentership. People are just, I can go through all kinds of stats about why renting's more. I just think the appreciation rate is going to start to go back to more normal. It may feel like something is happening on the negative side, but you just can't do this forever, right? I mean, it's nuts. I can't hear you.
Thank you, Bo. I was typing in answers. I'm sorry. So yeah, it's funny you say that, because I was listening to what was the podcast this morning? It wasn't Gary Vee. That's usually every other morning. But two folks I listened to all said we're moving into a significant renters market for a variety of reasons. Home ownership right now should drop. Renting will be a big element for the next several years. I do agree with that. So think about what you're focusing on as a broker, how that shifts, how that works for you. But beyond that, speaking of market shifts, Bo, you've been through several market shifts if you're doing this for 20 years, right? So, if you're 20, so when did you start out? When did you start out?
It would have been 2002, really. So I went through two market shifts, because around that time was pretty rough. And then, of course, the big one, right? And I have always, I pride myself on this. I've sold more real estate than the previous year, every year of my entire career, no matter the market.
Wow. That's amazing. And we're going to talk about market shifts in a greater detail. Someone asked about rent regulation. Bo, do you have rent regulation going on right now in Florida?
No, NACL has that over in New York, though. It's always super interesting to hear that stuff. I can't wait to hear about that.
Yeah, great. And speaking of that, September 19th, I give you guys a lot to write down. So I'll give you just a summary of everything I need you to write down. But September 19th, I think it is at 1 o'clock. Knackle's coming online with me, and we're going to talk about market shifts. Think about all the market shifts that Bo's been through, right? I've been through personally. There was 1990, then there was Stay Alive till 95. That was a big one back when you were in commercial real estate. And of course, 2001 with September 11th. And then of course, we had a 2006, 7, 8 debacle, the Great Recession. Haven't had anything really since. We haven't. It's going to come. But how you position yourself for these market shifts is critical to not only survive. I mean, survival is imperative, but really thrive. And look, both sold buildings every single year, more than the previous year, regardless of market cycle. So Knackle's going to talk about that, what he's done throughout his 35 years in every cycle. Even today, for those who don't know, the rent regulation legislation that passed in New York recently is so much of a hindrance for transacting. They're assuming, they're guesstimating, I guess, there'll be a 30 to 40, maybe 50% reduction in velocity based on that one new legislation passed alone. You got to figure out what else to do. Actually, Bob's a client of mine, and the only client I personally coach. We're working on that strategy right now for a new offering, a new shift. You guys want to hear that. You guys want to be there. I apologize, ladies. You guys who I say from New York. So I always say it. I can't say y'all. I can't like you, Bo. I can't say y'all. I'm sure you can.
Rod, I wanted to just kind of piggyback on that. What I have found going through two markets is the following. The reason I've been able to always increase is that I see this even on the residential realtor side and on the home selling side, right? Partners have that company as well. Is that when times are tough, when someone owns a shopping center, an office building, they want to keep it leased, they need to sell, someone owns an apartment complex, whatever it is, they don't toy around with their brother who has a real estate license. They don't hire the uncle that's been in the business for a couple years. They don't hire the guy that's been in business for 7 years and maybe, $10, $15 million a year in sales. Like, they go to the masters, right? They call the Knackle. They call the whoever it is in your industry that's just that elite guy. So in times of tough, your income may change a little bit, but the really, really, really good guys, as a percentage, are getting way more deals than anybody else because you're going to the master to get out of whatever it is you're in.
And for those of you who have not experienced 2008, 9, 10, let me just share with you, statistically, it was estimated that pre-Great Recession, there are an estimated 110 to 130,000 commercial real estate practitioners before the Great Recession. Taking what Bo just said and seeing the attrition that happened, after 2008, by 2010, that number was estimated to be somewhere between 60 and 70,000. So we lost almost 40% of our community, of our competition, the weak, right? It's Darwinism, right? The weak did not survive. They're out. Are you positioned to survive? So think about that. So Bo, I'm going to give you one last parting shot in a second. I just want everyone to make sure they wrote down the key things that we talked about today. Number one, KID. Don't kid yourself. Arrow, knowing isn't doing. You got to understand that. Knowing isn't doing. Number two, CRM. Figure out which one's best for you, right? And just use it, leverage it. Your team, really important to leverage others. If you don't have an admin, you are one. Someone asked a question, but hey, I'm new to the business. I can't. Wait a minute. That's taking mentality that you're restricting yourself. You got to stop restricting yourself because you're new to the business. You can't do this and you can't do that. Act like a CEO. You're an independent contractor. You run your own damn business. Act like it right away, and you'll definitely excel versus restrict yourself. So knowing isn't doing. You got the CRM, you got the team, you got some of the productivity, the way we work, personal assistants to work for people, things you shouldn't be doing, you don't want to be doing. I can't tell you the last time I mowed my lawn. Actually, no, take that back. I felt I needed a podcast, so I took a break and I mowed my lawn 3 weeks ago. So, but I don't mow the lawn. Of course, that's why. But Bo, that's how we have sons, right? Let them do that. So deep work. Remember that deep work. CRE Ready, CREready2020.com. You want to check it out? BoBeery.com. Check it out. If you go to CRE Ready, don't forget the promo code IAM Ready. all caps, IAM ready, to get the discount and go forward from there. I got a couple people asking questions, chiming in. Rod, do you have a public calendar for future events? Yeah, there'll be a public calendar. Actually, we're building right now Rod San Tomassimo. Spell that. Good luck. rodsantomassimo.com. We'll put all my events. But for Joseph, who's in New York, I'm actually speaking at the New York Expo in October with Knackle and James Nelson and all those guys. We're all going to be there. I'm going to be speaking in New York that morning as well. I think that's it. Let me just make sure there's no further questions. Do you want to offer? No, I'm good there. Okay, so Bo, you get the parting shot, Bo. What do you want to leave this audience with to maximize productivity?
I think it's, the biggest thing to take away from this is we have so much noise in our industry pulling us in different directions on how to build our business, right? I mean, the typical, I keep mentioning the typical things are the social media and doing the mailings and doing the email blasts and how to craft a letter and all that. There's a lot of noise. And I think a lot of commercial real estate professionals like the noise because it sort of creates a distraction from doing the hard part, which is serving our, making the phone call to either a new prospect or serving our existing customer. And if you just do the dirty work, you'll get good at it and you'll start liking it. It's the phone call and it's the lunches, man. That's what builds the business. You got to get in front of the people and have that connection. Everything else is just noise that we conjure in our mind to be important, but it doesn't touch what the guys who really produce do when they're interacting. Well,
Bo Beery, I can't thank you enough. The Prince of Productivity, the Earl of Efficiency, and the Dean of Deep Work himself. The gentleman went from having hundreds of listings and 80 hours a week and making good money to going from having maybe, how many listings do you have now, Bo? Tell me.
On the commercial real estate side, we had like maybe 70 or 80 listings, but on the multifamily side, I only have like a dozen at one time.
Okay, dozen at one time, working like 40 to 50 hours max a week, never on weekends, margin maximized. And by the way, making exponentially more money now. So, Bo, I can't thank you enough. Don't go, everybody. I can't thank you enough. And everyone else, I appreciate your engagement, but don't forget, knowing isn't doing. Now it's time to do. And we hope to see you at the CRE Ready 2020 event, or certainly at our next session on September 19th. If there are any questions, check us out at massimo-group.com. Thanks, buddy.
You bet, man. Appreciate you having me.
Take care.